Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk.
Hi.
I'm out here today with my friend Beth Traverso, who just got back from BPCon, and she had a question, and I thought it was best to answer this question in a video.
Happy to be here at the beautiful Snoqualmie Falls, just down the river here. And I had a question for Dion. I wanted to ask if I could see his famous binder in person, and I'm fortunate enough that he brought it today because I have maybe a use for it.
The really cool thing with this is, Beth, you have 19 rentals. You've been investing for how many
20
years?
plus years.
20 plus years. And with the option or the availability of using the binder coming up, your idea was to reach out to me to see if you can actually see the binder.
Yes, I'm a visual person, and I think I understand the concept of the binder. I've watched Dion's videos. I've done plenty of rent increases, but never used the binder strategy. So I think I'm always looking for new strategies and ways to improve, and I have a situation right now that might be perfect for that. So
that's the reason I wanted to make this video, because I want you to understand, the person watching this video, that a successful investor with decades of experience and 19 rental units thinks you need to see the binder to understand how to use it, which I totally understand. I think that's how most of us would feel.
Yeah.
So what I think I've failed at is explaining how simple this strategy is. So if you haven't heard of the binder strategy, the idea is you own a property that has a tenant in place when you buy it, or you have a tenant that you've had for several years and you want the rent to go up. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that your expenses or what a tenant was paying last year sets your rents. Actually, what happens is area average rents set your rent. So the binder strategy works for property owners to get the tenants to ask you to increase the rent. It also would work for a tenant to get the landlord to ask for the rent to go down. It goes both ways.
Win-win, yeah.
So if you're in an area where rents are significantly higher than what you're getting for your current tenant, here's how the binder strategy works. Most tenants live in fear of somebody buying the property and then raising the rent so much they can't afford to live there, or just kicking them out so they can raise the rent. Because what would make the most sense for most owners is to buy a vacant property, rehab it, really give it good curb appeal, and then rent it out at the highest area average rent that you can. I'm the lazy investor, and I also don't want to displace a tenant.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that a lot of ethical landlords will struggle with, is you don't want to kick somebody out of their house.
Sure.
This is why the binder strategy is so important.
Yeah.
Because for me, it helps keep tenants in place, and at the end of this conversation, they're happy even though the tenant asked you to raise the rent.
And the reason why I was asking about it is because this is going to depend, this is going into my consideration of whether I want to consider a particular deal or not, because a landlord reached out to me directly about a property that they want to sell, but they don't want to displace their tenant. And I may be willing to consider that under certain circumstances, but part of it's going to depend on what the rents maybe. It's a balance, because I want to keep it below market, but to keep the tenant there so they don't have to move and be displaced. But it also has to work for me so that I'm not negative cash flow and paying for them to live there. So if it might be something where this could make the difference as to whether this particular purchase is going to happen or not. So who better to learn from than the man who developed the strategy? So
what's funny is, if a new owner comes in and says, I'm going to raise the rent $100 a month, you can be called a jerk.
Yeah.
But in most cases with the binder strategy, the tenant asks for the rent to go up over $200 or $300 a month, and you're not a jerk. So I actually have an example of the binder here. And to give you the concept before I show you how simple this is, the idea is you have tenants who are unaware of what the area average rents are because they haven't looked for a place recently. They might not even know what property values are. So they don't know how much it would cost to move from their place if you purchased it and raised the rent too much.
Right.
So what we're going to do is actually educate the tenants by making this physical binder and taking it to the meeting when we go to talk to them. The first thing I want to do on the front cover of this is it's actually a picture of the property right off of Redfin or Zillow, so that you're going to see, the tenants can see you're using information that they can find themselves. The first page is just a map from apartments.com that includes the area that your rental is located in. Again, you want to show the tenant that you're using information that they can find themselves. This literally takes about 5 minutes to make. It's a picture from Redfin or Zillow, a picture from apartments.com, or Craigslist or Zillow or whatever your area uses to find their rentals. So as you can see, it's literally just 2 printouts so far.
Easy.
After that, all you're going to do is have printouts of the rentals in the area that you found on apartments.com, Craigslist, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace.
And he's highlighted some of the basic statistics like 2 bedrooms, 1 bath.
You want to make sure that the binder is talking about the same type of properties. If you have a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, you're only going to show 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom units. I have about 6 printouts in here of the properties in the area that were for rent that the tenant can also look up and find. You want to print this out within a day, maybe 2 days of having the binder strategy. You don't want dated information. You want to show the tenant the exact same properties that they're going to see when they look this up after you leave. So the front page actually shows the property, the current Zillow estimate of your property that the tenant's going to see. So the rents that they're paying might make sense to the person who purchased it 20 years ago for $100,000, but when they see that your current value is $706,000,
yeah, it's right there on the front of the binder.
Your property taxes and your insurance is going to be based off of this value. So the tenants understand there might be a reason why you need to raise the rent.
Yeah.
When you educate them and show them how much they would have to pay if they moved to a place in the area with the same number of bedrooms, and then you show the tenant the binder, let them look at it, let them know that they can actually go check this information themselves too.
Yeah.
Here's the magic question. When you ask the tenant, what do you think would be fair? They know what they're paying. They're paying based on what made sense to the previous owner.
Right.
They're also paying what made sense in 2019 or 20. And in 2020 and 2021, rents went up so much that I did the binder strategy on all existing tenants and had the tenants ask the rent to go up about 20 to 28%. That was the range.
Is that what you generally find it to be, about 20 to almost 30?
So that was the range on existing tenants after the rent increase of 2020 to 2021.
I see. Okay.
It's been
That's
30 to 40%
Yeah.
on tenants on properties that I purchased where they're already there. Again, if I went in and said, I'm raising your rent $100 a month, I'm a jerk. I show the tenants what their options are. They know the most intelligent thing I can do as an owner would have them move out, rehab the unit, spend $5,000 to $10,000, and then rent it out for maximum area average rents. I'm lazy, and we want to be ethical. We don't want to kick them out of their property. So consistently, 100% of the time so far, tenants have asked for the rent to go up further than what I would do if I was considered to be a jerk giving that $100 a month increase.
Which is interesting because I think the popular conception might be that they would try to undercut it, but you find that that's not really what's happening in real life.
That's the question that always comes up from people that watch the video saying, well, what would you do if your tenant asked for the rent to go down? Then you would be showing them area average rents that were lower. That's when it would make sense. Your rent should go down if you're charging too much. In most cases, rents have gone up so much, or you're purchasing a property where rents haven't been raised for years, and they know it doesn't make sense to stay where they're at. They don't want to pay area average, and you don't want to do a rehab, and you don't want to kick them out. Until it happens, no one knows what's going to happen if a tenant ever asks for the rent to go down or even stay the same. I've had tenants ask for $200 or $300 increases per month, and when I say, okay, they thank me because they know the other options are worse, and I'm not getting my best option either. But I'm getting the one that lets me sleep at night feeling like I'm ethical and didn't kick someone out of their house.
And they have some input in the matter, which I think a lot of people feel like they don't get that most of the time.
What tenant has ever been involved in the conversation to set their rents?
Right.
Exactly.
It's usually just they're told or they get a letter.
So here's what I want people to take out of this video. Beth, with decades worth of experience and 19 rentals, do you see how simple it is?
Yes.
It's literally 3 different things.
Even I can do this. So my question is also, do you do this when it's time for renewals? Is this you bring this out every single time?
So that's a good question. Normally how this works for me, the chronology on rent increases. I purchase a property. I prefer to buy already occupied properties. I'll use the binder strategy about 2 months later because I didn't get to vet those tenants. I didn't check their credit, verify their work.
Right. See, make sure they pay on time before you do the binder. Okay.
No noise complaints. They don't call me for super trivial things.
Right.
Then I'll use a binder. So that was where this came from. I then generally do a 5% increase every other year, and I let the tenants know that's generally how this is going to go.
Okay.
But in 2020 and 2021, because of the pandemic, the eviction moratorium, and all of the chaos, rents went up about 40% in my area. So the smartest thing as an owner would be to kick all of the tenants out, rehab all of the units, and get a 40% rent increase. 2 things though. I'm still lazy, and I don't want to kick my tenants out. So
and
I did the binder strategy.
Turnover is expensive too. So
turnover's expensive. The rehab is expensive.
yeah.
So that's why I did the binder strategy on all of my tenants at the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, and saw that 20 to 28% increase. So not 40%,
Yeah.
but not 5 or 10 and not 0.
It's a give or take, and it sounds, what I like about it is that it does allow all parties to have some input, and it allows for collaboration. I'm always big on collaboration, and so I like the collaborative approach, and the fact that there's something in it for everybody. So yeah, and I can attest to it now that I've seen it. Anybody can do it.
Nice.
So I'll be giving it a try. Until the next video, thanks for coming to our Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.